So, hello and welcome back to another episode of Real Talk with Jordan Szafranek. We've been lucky enough to be joined by Amiee Pollard today, Scotland national team member, European bronze medalist, 2 times Youth World Cup medalist, and also Youth League medalist. So, we're in pretty good company today. Yeah. So, how have you been, first of all?
I've been good, thank you.
Yeah.
Just can keep training.
Yeah.
Throughout this whole pandemic, and then
hoping
we get to go back at some point.
Like another lockdown doesn't come in or anything like that. Yeah. So how's obviously training been? Because obviously we've been like in lockdown here. Like how have you been able to like cope with all of that?
Yeah. So I've been pretty lucky. At the end of 2019, my family got a new garage built.
Right.
And I got a uni grant as well.
Yeah.
For the sports scholarship. So I was lucky. I was able to go out and buy like equipment. So I got like a weights bench, just all wee bits and bobs like the ab roller, stuff like that, weights. I also got like an area of karate mats.
Oh,
and I had an old punch bag from when I was like 9 or something that sat in our basement for like 10 years. So we were able to hook that up. So I've been quite lucky. I've had that space, and I've sort of changed our garage into a mini gym for now. I've been like stealing my dad's bike and going on bike rides and just running and stuff. So
it's almost like you just need to adapt. Like you kind of just need to use what you've got in front of you.
Yeah, I know a lot of people have been struggling because they only have like a space in their house. I'm lucky enough to have a sort of mini gym, like a garage to work in, which is my whole family have used and changed into a gym. So it's sort of kept us sane through the whole.
Yeah, is like motivation like to train kind of because you've got all those things available? Like it's been easier, shall we say? Like you're able to just get in, go into your garage for a couple of hours and get a training session in, or is like the motivation to train been difficult at times?
I think it's definitely been difficult at times. You know, sometimes getting into a routine is good, but it can also become boring. Yeah. When there's not much change.
I'm not in this cycle yet, and at the same time, like we're used to having competitions or like stuff to aim for, and when you're just kind of training for the sake of it almost without knowing when the next training session or competition is going to be, it's been difficult in that respect.
Yeah, I feel like you're trying to be keeping yourself ticking over for over a year now. So.
Yeah, but fingers crossed it gets all back. Yeah, it's soon enough. Yeah, so obviously everyone's had like a journey within the sport. Take us back to when you like first started the sport. Like, how did you get into it initially? Because I feel like everyone's got like a different story or reason as to why they got into it in the first place.
Yeah, so I started karate at 5 years old, and like every kind of kid, your parents put you into different sports. So I was in dance and gymnastics, like swimming lessons. I tried taekwondo first, actually, and I don't obviously remember too much about it, but I was told that I didn't like it because we played like more games and stuff, which I wasn't too much into. And then my parents found an ad in the newspaper for the club, and they just took me along one night, and I loved it. Yeah. So it just kind of went from there.
What was like your first memory of like being at the club, or like first experience that you remember?
I think the first memory of the club was actually when I didn't even have a suit.
Really?
So I just remember running in the hall around for high school.
Oh god.
We're obviously doing a warm up of some sorts. So it was. I remember like my outfit as well had like grey joggies and like a striped t-shirt on. I don't know why I remember that, but.
Did you always? And because obviously you say you'd done like so many sports, did you always enjoy it when you first got in there and first started?
For the other sports?
No, for karate.
For karate, yeah, I loved it straight from the get go.
What was it that like first like drew you to, or like you first like made you enjoy it? Obviously, as a kid, like we enjoy any aspect of like running about a hall or like anything like that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I was like the other sports. Like I like gymnastics because like the flexibility was there at that age, so that was easy for me. I didn't really enjoy dancing that much. Put, like makeup on you and stuff. Like
oh god!
Wasn't that kind of
not at all.
Kid, I don't know. I think it was maybe just a punch and a kick. It was something different.
Yeah,
Like I went into primary 1 at that point, and obviously people asked like when you were making friends and stuff. Yeah, it was something different, you know. So I enjoyed it that way, and I was picking it up quite easy. Like
that's good.
When I was younger, I was quite an independent kid as well. So I don't think a team sport was kind of in the mix for me.
Yeah, definitely, because obviously as an individual sport, like so many, like obviously it's not until later in life you realise this, but what you put in is what you're going to get out. So if you put all your effort into it, you're going to get the results, which is obviously why you've been so successful. But like with team sports, for example, if you could put in a half-hearted performance, but your team could almost like carry you like over. Yeah.
I felt like I was good at it.
Yeah.
Anyone that knows me knows I can do karate, and that's about it. Like any other sport.
At the same time, I'm the exact same. I was kind of like you in that respect. Like as a kid, like I'd always done like football, cricket, like just other random sports, but it wasn't like karate was the one that I was always like good at and like always able to do. Yeah.
I mean, I'd done like netball like towards the end of primary school. I think the only reason I managed that is because you like catch, throw, and then run. It's like one thing at a time.
Exactly. Yeah.
But multitasking. No.
Yeah.
Karate, the equipment's like attached to you.
Yeah.
So they need catch right.
Yeah. So almost like, see when you first started out, like what was like a driving force to like you to go like training every single day? Was there anything like in particular stands out, or you just done it for the love and like the enjoyment of it to start with?
I think the enjoyment definitely starts, but I think like any kid, like I started competitions. I done like the club comp for like when I was 5 and 6. That's only one competition a year.
Wow. So like you were very young when you first initially started. So did you almost like pick it up like quite easily straight away, like the actual like karate aspects of it?
I think so, yeah. I don't remember much, but I remember more from like first starting competing when I was 7.
Right.
But also like any kid, you know, if you medal, you're like proud of yourself.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
You want to win more.
Yeah.
So
did that almost like build your confidence sort of thing? Or were you always like confident like going into competitions or anything like that? Or like were you just as a kid where like you were just going in like happy to go to a competition? And
I mean, there's certain times when I think I remember like a competition, I must have been like 9 or 10, and I was swept for the first time.
Right.
And my dad tells me I came off the mat crying, like saying, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
And they were like, you're fine. So I think sometimes I also wavered a wee bit.
Yeah.
And I was always really small as a kid.
Yeah.
So I was tiny, so I wouldn't say I was probably really confident. You know, like when I was a kid, it's probably a lot of times in the mat I was pushed back quite a bit just from my sheer size. So.
But you were resilient enough to like just keep going, like.
Yeah, I think I had to learn, like a lot of kids, they learn like in competitions, like go forward, attack, whereas for me it was like almost learn like timing and defence a wee bit more first and seeing where to pick it, because I was just getting steamrolled sometimes in comps.
Oh god. And like that's like testament to you, like growing up and how you've matured as like an athlete as well, because like fair enough you started out like that, but like the growth that you've had over the years to like be able to like control your own movement, and like I feel like you're very good now at controlling and pushing forward as well, which is good. Do you think like subconsciously like that might have had an effect like earlier on?
Maybe, I think so. The first, like I spent a lot of like I actually medalled more at kata when I was a kid than fighting.
See, the thing is, this is what I've spoken to so many people about. Like for me, like I medalled, I got like my first medal in fighting, I got like my first in fighting, whereas like Dylan and other people, for example, like they done better as kata, like when they were younger. Did you always enjoy both of them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the kata part came from always learning new katas.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah.
I was learning the new ones. I think they get some interest, and I was always like, as a kid, I was quite like attention to detail.
Yep. So
when I was always learning the kata, I'd always be doing it like slow and making sure there wasn't many extra movements in it and trying to like perfect it. The thing with kata is I was so light and small that I just had no power whatsoever.
Yeah.
That was it. I had no grounding.
But at the same time, like it's probably better having the base foundation of being so technical. Yeah. Which is, as you say, like you had that attention to detail, which is probably why you were able to be successful in there as well. Yeah.
But the fighting part, like the timing and stuff, didn't really click until I was probably about 11 or 12 years old.
Yeah.
So it was like I was always gold or silver in kata, but I was always bronze in fighting, or like I wouldn't quite get to the finals in fighting when I was younger.
Do you remember as like a competition, like a moment in training where everything almost clicked into place and you kind of went from like those bronze medals to like getting into finals, like winning, like just like was there, like something that happened, like a light switch moment almost, where like everything just kind of came together?
I'm not too sure. I think the first international competition when I was 11, it was Banzai in 2012.
Yeah.
and I was doing the under 12 and under 14 for
Wow.
kata and community because I was switching the mats all the time and going across. I actually did better in the under 14 when I was 11. I got bronze in the fighting.
Amazing.
And I got 5th in the kata. So I think when I realised I'd medalled more, and then it went into like, I think the next time I went to when I was 13 and I medalled in the fighting. Like I'd started to medal more in the fighting.
More consistently,
And I think like there was always people would always be like, "Oh, she's gonna pick kata, she's gonna pick community to go forward," because and it was quite 50-50 for me for a while.
And that's like you were good enough at both that you could have picked either.
Yeah. So it was, but I think that, and then I think it was just the medaling abroad more at the community that I thought maybe I'm better at this, and then I picked it, and it just went from there. And I had like for cadet for community, for about would have been over a year anyway at least. I medalled at every single abroad tournament.
Wow.
For community, so amazing. I think at that point I definitely knew I'd made the right choice.
Yeah, that's good
for me.
Yeah. Which is good to have at that young age, because like looking back now, like you realise how much effort and how much work had to go in even from that age, because like when you go to like away as like part of the Scotland team and anything like that, like you see all the like Turkey, Spain, Italy for example, like how much they train and all that, so like you couldn't physically do both. There's just not enough time in the day, especially like being at school and all that, and we're not like funded athletes, so like you almost need to pick at one stage. And
I picked quite late. I think I was 13 when I picked, so it was only just before kind of breaking into the Scotland squad.
Which is probably a good age, because it kind of gave the base foundation. It kind of didn't burn you out almost, like just doing fighting the full time, because as you say, like you enjoyed the cat, I'm guessing, like
I definitely enjoyed it. I think as well, I can't remember what age I was. I think it was before like the sort of the first bronze medal I won abroad. I'd like fractured my thumb that year, and as in like a splint, and they said you can't do community for 3 weeks.
Oh god.
And I definitely missed it during that 3 weeks. So I knew that I think always had to be a sort of part that I was doing it, which kind of obviously influenced I think my decision as well. Yeah,
definitely. Do you remember like your first like competition where like everything came together like in fighting? Whereas I feel like for me, like there's been times where like in my career where like each competition has always had like impacted, like so obviously like at a club competition, like I won gold there, then that like kind of made me like win gold at Wishaw, then win gold at the Nationals, then at the British, then internationally. It's like a competition where it's like had a snowball effect almost, like you went into it, performed so well, and it kind of just set you up for, as you say, like that year where you went and medalled at every.
I think it would probably be my first the Youth World Cup.
Wow.
The one I'd only just turned 14. The next day was the competition, and I hadn't actually done that many abroad competitions beforehand. It's quite apparent in the videos when you watch back, because I don't think then I really knew what sort of a big competition that was. I think I'd only done like 4 or 5 abroad comps, and then that day like I fought really well. I was really small. I think I weighed into the comp at about like 40 kilo or something at that point.
Which you're fighting what, minus 47?
At the cadets I fought minus 47. At the start I was about 39, 40 kilos.
Wow.
I was only about I think when I was 13, I was only about 4'7", 4'8", like at the time. Like I was tiny.
Did that ever almost, did you ever feel like it hindered you at any point, or like you just kind of went in and done what you had to do, sort of thing?
I don't think so. I think it's one of the first techniques I sort of not perfected for myself, but was taming Yakuzuki Chudan. So that helped also being small.
Exactly. And at times like it's almost more difficult to fight a small opponent, like someone actually having to punch down on you.
So it's because that tournament as well, like I with the final, the girl was a lot taller than me, and I got caught with 2 head kicks, so obviously the score was pretty big losing. And I was like distraught after that. I was like, I'd fought terribly, and then everyone's like, "You've just won silver. Do you realise what you've done? Like you've only just turned 14." And I was like, "No, that's terrible. Didn't fight good."
Are you almost able to like live in those moments and enjoy the medals? Because I feel like at times we are almost like, right, that's one competition done, on to the next one, instead of actually like enjoying the medal itself. It's not until like looking back in a few years you actually look back and see what you achieved. But it's like it was like a youth league, like that was like it was people from all around the world. Like yeah.
I think I was able to enjoy those medals because obviously it was at the beginning of summer.
Yeah.
And then we stopped, so you kind of had that summer break.
Yeah.
To kind of realise what you'd done. During that, I think you always think of the medals.
Yeah.
Maybe like subconsciously, or you're like, oh, how many medals have I actually won this year? Because my dad actually kept a tally every year.
Right.
And it's like, it was like back of his work diary or something. So I think every year he's got, she won this many golds, this many silver, this many bronze. And it's like, I think the total's over 250.
Wow. Wow. That's God.
But I'm sure a lot of people don't realise actually how many they have.
Yeah.
Like, when you think about it, like each year, and then all the competitions almost blend into one if you're going to them every year, the same ones. But I think if people, like, definitely, I know from our club anyway, the amount of medals that I think if everyone took out every single medal or trophy they won, they'd be astounded. Like, they'd be like,
we'd be there for a week trying to count them all. Yeah.
So
see, like, obviously knowing how many you got after each year, did that almost like fuel you to want to do better like the next year?
I think when I was younger, definitely, because a lot of them consisted of like the competitions we had in Penrith, Wishaw, Scottish, Britishies, and Meadowbank. So there was a lot more like in Scotland or in England as well. So I think sometimes when I was doing those same competitions each year, that's kind of like, oh, I won like 12 last year, I need to get more this year, sort of thing.
Yeah,
or
that's good. It's a good thing to focus on.
Yeah.
Because like it's always good to like focus on the result or anything like that, but at the same time, like karate as a sport, it's like a process and like, it's a journey. So like you're almost wanting to better yourself each year, but I feel like maybe certain people focus on the results so much, but whereas you're just focusing on like the performance overall throughout the full year.
I guess I kind of stopped when I was about 13, 14, because obviously when I was a kid, there was some competitions where I had like 5 categories.
Yeah.
Because you do kata, and then you do teams, and you do pairs. So there was some comps where you're winning like 4 or 5 medals at, which obviously you weren't going to do if you only got one category when you finally picked a choice. And then when we got to like sort of cadet and above, we were going abroad a lot more. Yeah.
Did you ever feel like as a kid like any pressure going abroad? Because it can be quite a daunting thing going abroad like at that young age and coming up against like all these like countries around the world. Like, what was your like thought process going into like those competitions?
So when I was younger, like kind of cadet, maybe slightly like younger than cadet, I don't think I thought about it too much. Yeah. So it was, I think I just wanted to compete really, and I'd like made the decision when I was 11, the first Banzai that I went to, I chose it was because obviously it costs a lot of money to go.
Of course.
My parents had given me the choice either go on like your residential P7 trip or with like your class, or go to Germany, and it was like an immediate decision for me. I was like, no, I want to go to Germany for karate. So I kind of knew what I wanted from the get-go.
That's good. It really is. Like, I feel like so many people like they almost like go between like either one sport or another sport, whereas you've been like so focused for like so many years, and like that's obviously like impacted your training and like every competition and you're wanting to better yourself at. So like obviously you done well at like these competitions as like a cadet. Like how did that transpire into like the national team? Were you able to like take those performances and like success that you had there like into the national team? Like what was your like first experiences like being part of that?
So the first competition I went to was the Worlds in Indonesia in 2015. I think even at that point, watching that video, I didn't really know what quite I'd gotten myself into. Because there's a few people from our team in the national team, but it wasn't as many as there was now, and there wasn't the kata setup that there is now as well. And I think the stadium, I didn't know at the time, but obviously now I know it wasn't as good as the ones that like certain, obviously it depends on the countries, facilities and everything, but like I just walked in, I was like, this is the Worlds, okay, like I just didn't really dawn on me until after that.
Did that almost help like going in, because obviously some people can go in for the first Worlds and like be like so overwhelmed, like oh my god, like I'm at a world championship, like a massive stadium, but like, obviously that one was quite low key, shall we say? Like did that not affect you at all?
For me personally, the cadet, not really. No. I think we're actually quite. It happens more in cadet anyway.
Yeah.
People just go and they just don't think much about it.
Yeah.
It's just another comp to them.
That's good. Yeah.
So it is, because cadet, when you look at the podium, it's so mixed compared to like other categories.
Exactly.
And then obviously I think more about it probably now, and I try not to, because you know how much a big deal of it is.
Yeah.
But when I was cadet for like that one, and then my first Europeans, I didn't really know.
Yeah.
So it was, I hadn't even, like I said, I hadn't even done that many abroad comps
Yeah.
either. So they just kind of felt all the same to me.
Yeah. So were you, that you didn't feel any pressure going in then?
No.
You kind of just went happy to be there, and if you got the result, you got the result. But as long as you performed to the best of your ability, that was the main thing.
Yeah, I think so. For the first ones anyway, I think I felt maybe slightly more pressure after it, when I was maybe slightly more known in my category. Yeah. And after you've won maybe like a few WKF medals, that you're kind of thinking, oh, I need to perform here, sort of thing. Like, but it just doesn't happen every competition. You know, it's like it's a special case if it does for you.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just like going into comps knowing like on your day you can compete with anyone. Yeah. So it's because you can look at podiums like at a Worlds maybe, or a Europeans that you've not done particularly well, or it's just not been your day for you, and you look at a podium, you're like, I beat them. Like, so you know you can.
How does that make you feel? Because obviously some people get quite disheartened at the fact that they've beaten them at so many other competitions, and they were able to like do that. Like, how did that make you feel?
Obviously it makes you annoyed, but the thing is, like, you can compete with them, but you need to do it on the day that matters. That, like, you were able
to turn that into a positive almost, and knowing that you've already beaten them, so like you can have your day like at some point.
It's just doing it on the day that counts. You know, you could say, "Oh, I beat them at a banzai." It's like, but you didn't beat them at Worlds.
Exactly.
You need to do it on the right day for you. But
so how did almost like did your cadet like career almost influence your junior, because you had such a successful junior career as well? Did like what changed from, like, obviously you're saying you're just happy to perform like and do your best, like what changed from there to like being known in your category? How did you almost manage like being known in your category? Was it something you enjoyed? Or like thrive off because you're like, I'm the best in the category, everyone's wanting to beat me almost? Or did you feel like a sense of pressure being the best that you had to perform every time?
I think a bit of both. I mean, it's nice. Like, obviously the first medal I ever got, I was only like 14 on like one day, so like no one was really known in cadets. But then when you go to junior, you are a bit more known. But I think it like betters you as a fighter, because when people know you, like, you need to fight a certain way or change the way you fight. You can't go through the rounds fighting the exact same way like the whole time. Like at the start of juniors, the first 6 months I don't think I won any medals, or maybe only one or something.
Was that down to you changing anything, or it was just the transition going from a cadet to a junior?
I think it was definitely transition, because that was the year I took a big growth spurt as well. I actually grew. I wasn't tiny anymore, so I moved up a weight category as well, and that was quite difficult in my head, because like obviously my whole like time everyone was like, she's a lightweight fighter, always gonna be a lightweight fighter, and then like 1 minute like I wasn't. So it was, and then it was quite like the physicality of it a bit more, and like a category I had to adjust to that as well. So it was, and I think it was because around my birthday at that point, I was on the verge of being like the lightweight and the
so you kind of had to make a decision of, do I try and cut for however many years, or
I just wasn't, and I was like, I'm growing, like keep growing here, so I was like, I'm not going to be able to do that. So I was like, there's no point in doing one comp at that -48 category. I was like, I'm just gonna go straight into -53s. I was like,
which was a great decision for you in the end.
But I remember going at, I think my first Euros at junior was Russia, and I went in with no form whatsoever and got to semi-final. So I was like, but lost the bronze medal match. So it was a fifth, but it was obviously all fifths were like bittersweet, but for me it was like the first sort of time I'd actually fought well in juniors and sort of found my feet in the category, which was like 6-7 months later. So it was
so take us back almost to like the time when you got like your first European medal. Like what was like that whole experience? Like what was like the training on the lead up? Like were you gonna known that you could do it almost with like the training and like the lead up in the competitions that you had?
I definitely felt confident because 3 weeks before I had won the Austria Champions Cup.
Yeah.
So winning a gold like a few weeks before Euros is
Gives you
definitely a
confidence
confidence boost.
Yeah.
And I went in the first. There was a lot of the same people in the Austrian Champions Cups. You know, it's just national teams there because it is a big preparation competition. The first match was the exact same first match I had in Austria. So that first match where people might be feeling nervous, I was pretty confident for that because I'd already beaten the girl like 2 weeks before.
Was that almost like you were able to settle into the competition? Like, because obviously, I feel like so many people, like Europeans or worlds, getting through that first round, it's probably the biggest like round you need to get past, because it's like you go in and you're like, right, I know I can do this, but I need to get through the first round to like gain that confidence. Almost.
I think so. I mean, I always enjoy getting the first point. I think that makes it a whole lot easier. And
do you always go searching for that, or does it depend on who you're fighting?
I think now it depends on who I'm fighting.
Yeah.
Because you sort of need to fight. So
you need to fight smarter.
And smarter.
Yeah.
But I think I'm still looking in a way to get the first point. I mean, it's definitely not the end of the world if you don't, because there's been plenty of matches where I pulled it back. But
at the same time, like censure nowadays, like that can have such an effect.
Well, that was the first. I think 2017 was the first year that came into play. So it was for the Austria and then the Euros that was the first one, because I think the quarters I was losing 2-0 for it, and like I went for an Ura and the girl had been holding her head and I got a warning, Ura again, holding her head, got a warning.
Oh,
and I was
God.
like, oh no. Managed to get a body kick and bring it back to 2 each, because that was the first comp we had to be like, no, I need another one here, like, because I obviously have to win 3-2.
Do you almost enjoy that? Like, I feel like you've always been a fighter. You're never one to like sit back. Almost like you've always been looking for like a point.
Yeah, I mean, I think essentially is one of the ones you love it if you have it, you hate it if you don't. Like,
yeah.
So it is like, and it's if you go 1-0 down, you're like, how do you get 2 now? Yeah. So it is, but I think.
See when like you're in that frame of mind, do you panic almost, or are you confident in your ability that you know no matter how long's left you're going to get the chance to almost
I think
score?
More recently, like the 2019 when we actually had comps, I was a lot more confident in my ability to bring it back. I think there is times like people forget, like if you go 1-0 down and it's like a 2-3 minute fight, you need 2 points, but that doesn't mean you need to do a body kick or a head kick. It can be 2 punches, and people start going for like the kick straight away, and it's like, you don't need to do that. You've got a minute 30 left. Like you can get 2 punches here. Like, definitely. It's like stick to your strengths and stuff.
Do you have like set strengths that in a competition you'd always go to, like no matter what, or set techniques?
I think certain ones are definitely stronger than others. But I think I use quite a variety.
That's good because like quite a few people I've spoken to, they've always said like they've got banker techniques, which at the same time, like, it's good to have them, but it's also good to have variety as well, because at the same time, if you come up against an opponent that knows you, if you use your bankers, they may have trained to avoid and like so if you're able to be like a complete fighter and mix up almost, it's going to set you in like a better stead for like better opponents as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've got favourites.
Yeah.
And ones I definitely prefer to do either defensively or like attacking. But like from 2019, my last year of comps, I worked a lot on like doing the opposites. Like loads of people use like Yakusuki is like a timing one, but it can be used as attacking as well. And it's like really it's good to change it up.
Yeah,
it's all, it kind of makes you unpredictable, which is a much better. And then
definitely.
Suppose I was always like the one thing I didn't have, like I never used my right leg for kicking. Like I just avoided it at all costs.
Was that so because you avoided it? Did you almost like want to train it more?
Definitely this year. I've used the lockdown to train it, and
amazing.
I'm more confident. I think I'd throw it now.
Yeah.
So I always avoided it, and I had like a hip injury in 2018, and just from having that, whenever I used my right leg a lot, it would hurt.
Yeah. So
I'd stop using it. Whereas this year I've been in lockdown, I haven't had any competitions, so
it's good. Yeah, that's
been in pain for a few weeks doing it, but you kind of push past that point,
and it's going to be worth it in the end when you're just going to have another like technique in your like armory that you can use right whenever you need. It's a really good thing because obviously some people in this lockdown they've kind of just been like a monotonous cycle of just training like over and over again, whereas you've homed in on what you actually need to improve. It's not
proper
which is which is a great thing because it's going to stand you in better stead going back. It's not like you're going to come back at the same level almost. You're going to come back with things you never had before.
It gives you more confidence to set up like techniques you do use and are your strengths in a different way.
Yeah.
So it's like double kicks you would use, like spins, or like you can just set up in a different way, and even like being on the other stance as well, like more confident because like I'm not the best puncher on the other stance, but the fact that I can kick now more confident with my right leg.
Yeah.
If that's in front, I know I've got something there.
Yeah.
If I decide to switch.
Exactly.
Whereas before, I just felt like I had nothing like on that side. So
that's good. It's really good because obviously as a fighter, you need to be able to adapt because you're going to come up against a variety of opponents as well. So you need to have like, a variety of techniques.
Yeah, that's also you never know what like kind of position you kind of get yourself into. Sometimes the fights you can be in the strangest positions when you get like you're defending or you get like caught in a clinch and you push away and stuff. You can be like right weird positions where you need to like adapt from a move, and if you end up like feeling like you can't do anything, that it makes it a lot harder for yourself.
Yeah, definitely, and it almost like stops you from like panicking as well, because like you know like no matter like as you say like, if you're in a clinch or if you're like at the edge of the tatami almost like you're going to have like techniques that you can almost use no matter what situation you're in.
Yeah, even using it to get out of that situation if you're a certain fight you're maybe not confident using quite yet against. So it's just good to have. Yeah.
So take us back to like that Europeans where you got your bronze. Like, was like anything that you were feeling like the night before, or were you just going in like again focused on like your performance, and then like the result was always going to be like a bonus sort of thing?
I don't think I was particularly fighting my very best.
Yeah.
That day. Like, I think definitely not the first fight. The first fight definitely got me into the rhythm of things. It was like quite.
Did it almost push your confidence?
Yeah. So it was, and then when I got to the semi-final was, I was fighting a person in the opposite stance. And I think we've been cadet, not really having the experience against someone in that stance quite yet, made it a lot difficult. And it was a 1-0 loss, and I was in the bronze match. And then the bronze match was I was against the girl that I'd beaten in the final at the Austria 2 weeks ago. So again, that's just like another thing of confidence.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Did you have the because obviously people go in like their first like European bronze medal match, they're quite nervous almost. But did you go in having a confidence that you could do this and you could win the medal?
Yeah, I'm quite glad it paid off because before it we were behind the curtain. The coach that I had, he was giving me all this advice, and I was just like, I'm fine, I'll beat your face.
Almost just trusting in your ability.
Yeah, so I was lucky I won that one to get right after, but
do you almost remember the fight? Do you remember everything that happened in it?
No.
See, this is a great thing because every person I've spoken to, like, where they've had their best performance, if it's like people in European like matches or like world matches, it's almost like they come off and like, I don't know what I've done. Like you almost go into autopilot, almost, which.
Yeah, a lot of the time I'll come off a match and everyone's like, "What's the score?" And I was like, "What? I don't know what the score was." Like, you just.
This is a great thing where athletes almost like they need to just trust in their abilities. Like you've put in all the years of hard work, of the training, all the preparation, and when you're going to perform your best, it's going to be in like that autopilot state where you're not overthinking. Because as I've said, like with other people, if you're a fighter, for example, if you have that moment where you overthink, that could be the time where you need to score a point, or like someone scores a point on you. So if in those moments where it matters most, like that's what you almost need to do, trust in your abilities and just kind of go and fight almost.
Yeah, I mean the only part from the comp I remember is after that.
Yeah.
Like, people like cheering for you. Like,
it was a great moment
and stuff. But I only have glimpses from certain fights in that tournament. I don't really remember.
Yeah, but at the same time, you've got the memory of winning.
Yeah.
So I feel like you're going to remember your heartache or like the bad competitions more because you've always had to like learn from them, whereas the ones where like you've done like your best and you can almost just like sit back and like soak it all in. Yeah.
Those are the ones with the, like your biggest defeats though as well. they always come from ones where you've made it to the business end of the tournament. So you've clearly had a good day as well, which is annoying because the only thing you remember about that day is the defeat. But then you actually think, well, like, look how many fights I did actually win that day. I was clearly fighting good.
Are you able to take those positives? Because obviously some athletes, they just focus on that loss. Whereas, as you say, you have had a good day actually. So, like, you need to take the positive of how you've performed previously and, like, almost not dwell too much on the loss. Are you able to do that as a fighter, or is it something that you've had to develop?
Now, it's kind of just like, after that, it's like, it's done now. Like, you can't really change it. Just move on. Like,
which is a great mentality to have, because as an athlete, like we've got so many competitions, like back to back to back. If you dwell on one so much, it's going to have a knock-on effect.
I think that helps. Like, moving on. Like, after I lost the Youth Olympic qualification semi-final, I had the K1 like a week later, so I flew home and straight back out. So I don't think I had much time to think about it too much. But obviously hurt a lot of the time, and then obviously I'm watching the Youth Olympics in October at that point. But then after it's fine, you know, like I could spend my whole life regretting that yak that I went in for, or like move on, do you know what I mean? So it's...
I know. Obviously, take us back to that tournament, because it's a special tournament to just be a part of. Obviously, like, the end result was absolutely devastating. But what was it like being part of that? Because obviously it's the first time karate's been in an Olympic sport, regardless of youth or senior. What was it? What was like the whole experience of that? Like, 'cause obviously not many people are going to be able to experience that.
So I think like it was 2018. It was like the start, and there was like some talk about it, but it wasn't like a massive thing. Like at the start of the year, I wasn't thinking, oh, I need to medal lots or like do really well here or whatever. And then it was the K1 in May in Bulgaria that I got told that I got selected for it. I was like ecstatic then, because I had the chance to go and compete for it. And then out there, you know, I was with a different team as well. We had English coaches, English fighters, a Welsh fighter.
Did that make a difference almost, because you've been so used to like the people in your club or like the people in the national team, or did it not like affect you at all?
I don't think it affected me much, because obviously when I was younger, like I had family that lived in Northern Ireland, so when I was younger I used to go over and compete without a coach. So I quite learnt that from like a young age, having to think for myself on the mat, and I knew the coaches like to talk to, so it wasn't like complete strangers.
Of course.
I knew the competitors as well that were going as well. I think it was quite an insane experience. I remember like it was like one category at a time, so it was like 40 Tamis, and there was like a warm-up area and a holding area, and they like lined you all out and you all walked out, so it was like one massive lineup across the 4 tatamis, and you're standing there and you're like, right, okay, this is it, sort of thing. It was a 2-day event, so it was like my category had 44 girls in it.
Wow.
So the day one, it was like the first 2 that made the final, they qualified, and then the next day obviously had 42 girls because they 2 qualified, and then it was the second day I had 5 matches in total.
So it was basically just like almost world championships. Almost
pretty much. It was the best from every nation. There, it was the top person who was top of the rankings. Got to go to the qualification tournament. I remember I didn't think I put too much pressure on myself. It was like, you've came here with nothing, so just go for it. Like,
definitely,
you're not going to be any worse off going home. Like, so just go for it. And then I had first match. It was like on and off because I was only one match at the top of the draw, so I was straight on after I won my match back, change pads, straight out again for the next match. Then I got to the pool final, so it was won that 4-0. So it was, and then for the lineup as well, even just like walking out with like obviously the 4 girls who were competing it, and then the next category behind you, and you step forward, you bowed, and you sort of like put your hand up to like the head table, and then you turn around, bowed, put your hand up to the stadium as well, and then it was also the first time as well that I had like a commentated match. Which is quite weird watching the match back and having it like voiced over. It's weird compared to the ones just that are regular tournament or even a World or Euros. But yeah, it was an amazing experience. So it was.
Do you think you were able to like take like your best performance each round?
I think so, yeah. Obviously we had video review as well.
Right.
So for junior, obviously it's not a common thing. I'd only had like experience of it once. They tried it at the Tenerife World for junior. So having that video review as well, it's like it creates a sort of change. Like you score a point and you're like, oh wait, there's video review, and like the person they stand, and it's quite a new experience as well, and everything was just
Were you able to adapt okay to all that? Because obviously it's a whole new setup for that competition. Like it's a whole new using the video review. Like were you able to just kind of just focus on your own performance and like you kind of just not dwell on it?
I think as well, like I was used to the stadium.
Yeah.
That was where I've won 2 medals previously.
Course. Yeah.
So it was definitely a stadium I enjoyed being in.
Yeah.
I think as well, like there was just so much adrenaline that day, and like I think there was a lot more action that tournament. Like people were just proper like fighting out for it. Like
because it's one of those things where you can have a bad performance at Europeans, but you can go back the next year where
like
it's
once in a lifetime. So everyone was like, there was some matches as well. It was proper scrappy sometimes, or like hard hits going in for junior.
Were you able to almost, because you knew what like the end goal was, were you able to like just take your performance like a whole new level? Like you kind of just went in like and just like fought almost to like a different level because what was on the line almost.
Yeah, I don't think I was thinking too much about it. Like
as you do, right, especially us, like with a club, right, we've always been told like focus on the process, one round at a time, and not. Yeah, but obviously it's difficult when you know what's at stake.
When you know what's at stake, but I think because it was, they're the best people in the world and the category are there, that you have to take it one round at a time.
Yeah, definitely.
I think it was just like I had like a lot of trust in my techniques that day. Like once I scored, I was like, that scored, I'm doing that again. Like sort of thing. Like I didn't really have much second guessing in myself.
Really which, like as we mentioned previously in your European Bonds match, that's when almost people fight their best. When they don't second guess themselves, like they're confident and comfortable in what they're doing, and that obviously showed off, and for that day.
Yeah, and then obviously the match that was the semi-final.
Yeah,
I did lose. So that was still like a crazy experience. Like everyone just watching you, like stadium silent. Like I don't really think it affected too much the way I competed. I still think I was quite up for it. And
which looking back now, it's probably the best thing that you could have, like the best mentality you could have had, like because you could have just focused on like the loss of it, which I know you have, but like you were able to take those positives from it and know that you did like perform and like you didn't almost.
It's definitely been one of the tournaments I performed the best.
Yeah, like as an overall package, and
the one thing I do hate is like I didn't get a bronze medal.
Exactly, like you done all that.
I feel like everyone would feel the same if you got a bronze.
Definitely.
Like it was practically World Championships, and they only gave out silver and gold.
Yeah.
And it's like and the results on the sport data you've seen with like a wee free medal next to your name, like I didn't get a medal.
Exactly. Oh god. So it's almost like, obviously that is such a difficult defeat to take. How did you overcome that? Because obviously like so many athletes can have like competitions like that where like they came so close but they just didn't achieve it. How did you overcome that?
Well, definitely at the time, like I came off the mat, I was distraught. Like I was solo, and you're trying to like keep it together because like a live stream camera's like walking backwards with it in your face, and you're like, ooh. And then back into it's funny, like you do a martial arts sport, you're punching, kicking. And the first thing that I wanted to do was like be locked in one of those like padded rooms that
just
they had,
your anger
and just like punch something. Like that's what it felt like. I just wanted to punch something.
Which you're quite within your right to do after that.
And then I had to, because obviously straight after it you had Lauren and Brandon were coming on to fight, so I had to like be straight back out there to cheer on for them, which is difficult. I want to do well for them, but you're trying to like. You just lost yourself.
Exactly.
So it's hard to be happy in that moment.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. We've all been there.
So I think the having the K1 straight after did help. I think like my family were worried I was going to be like depressed or like really like down the whole summer about it. But I think like coming straight back and then flying straight out again for a comp in the exact same stadium as well. I think in a way that helped. I didn't really fight good that K1. Maybe I would have if I'd qualified.
Yeah. But it kind of made you kind of not dwell on it and just kind of get back into it.
Yeah, and then I went on a family holiday straight after it, that was 2 weeks just relaxing, winding down.
Yeah. Which as athletes, like, it's
Yeah.
we need, because we obviously don't have a season as such. Like, we literally compete the whole time throughout the year, near enough. Like, we may get like maybe the odd couple of weeks in the summer, but
Yeah.
as athletes, like, we're first competition in January, there's a competition in December at times, and then it's like I just repeating that cycle.
Yeah.
Do you think almost like taking breaks like that, it helps you refocus?
I think so, yeah. I think as well having it, like, it was always either at the end of the school year and starting the next one, or then go to uni after. Like, it's nice to not do anything sometimes, and it's like
definitely,
2 weeks, but it actually is hard when you go out. Like, you're 3 days in, you're like, I've got to do something. Like, exactly. It's hard to wind down. Like,
definitely.
You feel like I need to do something, and you go on a run or use like the hotel gym or something. Like, it's hard to do nothing for 2 weeks at the same time, but like, your body does need it.
Yeah, definitely. Especially when you have like such a run in, like back to back competitions, like especially when you're like 5 rounds at a competition where it's like the highest level, and then on to like a next one.
And obviously watching then the Youth Olympics and in Calgary in October kind of brought some memories back, but I wasn't obviously as upset as I was at the time. And then after, I was fine. Like, when I look back at that memory, I'm like happy about it.
Amazing.
Like, you kind of think like, okay, I went for the Yakusuki. Says I do still think that I scored it. So I do. After watching the video, and then I got kicked. They went for the kick. I was like, fine, but I haven't been caught with that since. And you don't know whether that impacted like the next year when I won the silver at K1. Like, would I have won that if I'd went to the like Youth Olympics or something? I don't know. Amazing. Like, maybe that helps.
Yeah, no, definitely. Is. Like, because it's one of those things where I know myself where I've done something at a competition and I may have not changed it for the next one almost, but you're able to adapt and realising, right, it's probably the biggest like mistake that it's going to haunt you for so long, like realising that you don't ever want to feel like that or like have that happen again. Like, it was like obviously a pivotal moment that you almost needed, not needed, but like you can kind of take it and take a positive approach on it.
And also with the actual Olympic qualification tournament coming up, like, there will be obviously seniors that will have like a similar occurrence or
exactly,
and they'll feel the exact same way, maybe even more so because it's not a youth one, it's the real Olympics. So it was, but did
that see, like, watching the Youth Olympics, did that almost like fuel you, like I feel a fire within you to almost get to that level again, or like go out and like on that high stage get back there almost?
I think so. I mean, like, clearly it wasn't like meant to be, I wasn't meant to go, but I think it was like, I remember the time I watched bits of it, not all of it completely. Like, you had to pay for it or something as well. So I
remember just like refreshing the results or something like that.
I think I watched my category and another one. I don't even remember what categories I did watch, and then obviously seeing the highlights after it from the tournament. But no, I remember like my family just trying to keep it light-hearted.
Of course.
And it's not a coping mechanism for everyone, but my dad, like, and my mum were like, we could have been in Argentina right now.
Oh God.
Which people might not like. Some people wouldn't find that very funny, but I was like, well, close, I know.
When it's close people to So
it was, but I think after that I was fine, completely fine. Like, I didn't even give it any second thought, and even watching the fight now, I'm completely fine watching it, and it's all good memories from that tournament.
Amazing. That's almost what you need to take, like, because we do this sport and like we can focus on the negative so much, or the what could have been.
Yeah, but like, it's coming up for 3 years this summer, so.
And like, it's almost like looking back and appreciating, like, not very many people were able to experience that, and like you were able to be part of like such a first for the sport as well, no matter what happened.
There was just stupid memories from it. Like, I think it was like flying out there, being on the Scottish Athlete. They were like, oh, you need to be in Stansted Airport for like 2:00, and my mum was like, I'll drive you there, and I was like, Mum, you cannot drive me to Stansted and back up. I was like, I'm gonna need to get a flight. She just had no concept of like where it was, and I was like, no, it's in London. I was like, I had to fly down the Wednesday morning, and I arrived in Stansted at like 9 in the morning, and I was just sitting there for 5 hours.
Oh, bless. Oh
And
my
anyone's
gosh.
been Stansted knows there's nothing
Yeah,
there.
exactly.
Until you go through like
Yeah.
the gates and stuff. So
And it's not even, it's like, it's in London, it's like 50 minutes outside of London, you're just trapped in the
I
airport the
was
full
just
time.
sitting like just bored, like doing
Yeah.
absolutely nothing for about 5 hours.
Yeah.
So it was
That-
just
And like after that competition, like that was, you were kind of close to the end of your junior career, weren't you? After that one, you
I had
another
1 year
yeah,
left.
1
and
year
that was
left. How was like the transition going from like a junior to like an under 21? Because obviously you've got the seniors now,
Yeah.
like as well. You're able to compete. Do you think like it's a massive stepping stone, or were you almost prepared for it, like regardless of going in?
I think I was prepared for it. Like in some ways, obviously, like a lot of our team are senior.
Yeah.
So even when I was like my last year of juniors, particularly in the start of 2019, they had the change rule where females had to fight 3 minutes.
Right.
So even in training, we were training for 3 minutes, even though I was still doing 2-minute fights. So going from 2-minute fights to 3-minute fights wasn't that big of a change for me.
Yeah.
Because I was doing that in training, and then like I think that's probably one of the things that's definitely helped. Like I've always trained with like the boys and the people, like they're always faster, like
Or taller, or
taller,
stronger.
bigger, like
yeah.
And I had to fight like with them since I was a cadet.
Yeah.
So
You've
it was
always
sort of
had
like,
to hold your own.
yeah, like if I could defend some of their techniques, then I can defend any one of my categories.
Yeah.
And so going from that to under 21 wasn't as big. I think the jump's a little bit bigger for senior.
Yeah.
You know, you're going into a category with people like you've idolised since you were like 14,
Yeah,
15, and you're
course.
like I'm competing against them now, which is strange at first.
How do you almost deal with that? Do you have like a nervousness going up against these people, or were you just like, like no any pressure, like just go in and enjoy the moment almost?
I'm quite bad for like names with like athletes, so there's been like ones where like the comps like Basel that we went to, where I went in and I didn't actually have a clue who I was fighting.
I think I was telling you, like, yep, do this, do that, you're up against,
And you were like, you just fought so and so, and I was like, who? And you were like, oh, do you want a medal in Baku, the European Games? And I was like, I don't know who that is.
But that's not a bad thing, because
no.
I know maybe like for me, like, I always loved knowing who I go up against, but like for like other people, like it doesn't make a difference. Like you're going to go up and fight, and maybe that's like a good thing to have, because you don't put any pressure, you don't overthink being like, oh my god, this person's so good at this technique or that technique, or they're part of like the Azerbaijan national team.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think like my category, like I've felt anyway, like since definitely junior, it's always been such a mixed podium. And like before competitions, the thing that settles me is just knowing like what colour I am, what fight I am, like what tatami I'm on.
Yeah.
Not so much the person that I'm fighting.
Yeah.
Because
fair enough, it is, you are going up against someone, but you still need to replicate your own abilities and performance. Like you can't let that affect, because if you fight the way that you know you can fight, you're going to like almost win, irrespective of how they perform. If you're able to like move the way that you're able to move and like score the way you're able to score, then that's going to win. Like you're able to win because obviously you've done it so many times previously.
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously the big names in karate.
Yeah.
I've not fought one yet, so I don't really know how I would be. Like I've not really had that experience yet.
Yeah.
In seniors, because I only had 2 comps at seniors, so I not had that much experience yet because the pandemic and everything hit. But yeah, I think I watched obviously like online competitions and stuff, but I'm really not good with names, so I really sometimes don't know who I'm competing against. Which I think works in my favour.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Some ways.
Some people like to like almost plan. I know it's kind of like a game of chess where if you like go up against this person, you should use that kata, whereas fighting, you just need to focus on that fight, score those techniques, and then move on to the next one almost.
It's definitely 1 round at a time for fighting, especially when you're at the higher levels, you can't think of anything.
Those like 2 senior competitions you've been to, have you almost felt like you've belonged almost? Because obviously like, it's difficult going in as like an under 21, like straight out of junior, like into those like bigger competitions. Did you feel like your abilities, like you could perform, like even though these people have been in like the seniors for like 10 plus years
Yeah,
almost.
I think so, because I performed really well in Basel.
Mhm.
Like, I won the
Yeah.
seniors then and stuff.
Yeah.
So, like, that gave me a bit of confidence, obviously, going in thinking, like, oh, I can do the same.
Yeah.
First one was Madrid, and I was actually ill that competition. So,
Yeah,
I
you
lost
kind
on
of
Senshi the first one, but I didn't think, that probably didn't give me, like, a true, like, kind of,
reflection of
your
your
like, how
performance.
I would
Yeah.
have competed. And then Salzburg, it was sort of, it was nearing the start of the sort of pandemic coming in, and there was like talk about it was in certain countries, and everyone was like, didn't really think that was going to be the last one, but
Yeah.
I remember. And then I think I fought Romania the first, and that was the second time I'd only fought a Romanian fighter.
Mhm.
So again, a sort of new experience, like fighting
Yeah.
a senior at that level as well. And I think the score was 3-2. So
Right.
I was scoring points at the K1s, which
yeah,
like I was happy with. And I
with
was
your
like,
first time, yeah, like as you say, like it's almost like building blocks. Almost like you need
Yeah.
to take the confidence from my first ever like senior competition where like,
Yeah.
I'm ready, and then you just build on it from there. Cause
Yeah, like the two I went to, I
yeah.
scored points in both. So
and like those results, they could have easily have swung in your favour. And like one competition, it's just going to happen like that. You're going to
Yeah.
get through like your first round, and then it's going to be like a snowball effect where
Yeah.
you get through one round at one, then you almost just build it up from there. Yeah. Obviously, karate is like a journey, and like it's like a roller coaster almost. Like you go through highs, you go through lows.
Yeah.
There's all like times like within the sport where like you've almost felt like that, like stuff's never went your way, like within the sport.
I think for me, there's always been a reason that it's
Yeah.
been low. Either I've just fought shit that day,
Yeah.
and it's just, and I know myself, and like me and my family, like if I fought crap, they'll just tell me I fought crap. They're not gonna like sugarcoat it for me or
Yeah.
anything, which is like sort of the way I like it.
Yeah. It's good.
But I think it's hard. I think it's harder for kata, you know, like because you just go out and do your best kata. Mostly fighting, it's like it's a choice and
Yeah.
it's decisions. So
Right, obviously it's a subjective sport, like
Yeah.
kumite, when it's always down to like a referee's decision if you score that or not.
Yeah.
But it's almost an objective sport, because if you score that technique, it's quite clear that it needs to be given. Whereas kata is purely subjective. Like you could go out and do the best performance of your life and still
their opinions,
lose, because it's on their opinions. Yeah.
So I think like I don't think I've had that many competitions where I've like, I don't really like to say unlucky. I don't really believe in luck that much.
Yeah,
I think
like
you make your own,
as you
but
say, what you put in is what you're going to get out.
yeah,
Yeah.
so I think whenever there's been like low moments or high ones, there's been a reason. Like I've either fought really well or I've not fought well. Simple, or I've made stupid decisions that day, or like I've not prepared right, or my head's not been in the right place. Like there's always a reason.
Yeah, as I obviously we say like that stuff within sport, is like when stuff out with sport, like that's affected.
I think like the first thing was I had to balance like schoolwork with training and competing and learning to do that like 14 years old. Like it is quite young to have that like responsibility, like
especially when you're going away as well. Like you're not just training, you like you need to factor in like I'm going abroad, like however many competitions a year, and you need to catch up in your school or clock.
Yeah, and I had to be like the one to let teachers know, like, oh, I need to get my prelims moved, or I have to change this, or I can't be here for that day, I'm away, like I need to work for this day. And
how were you able to almost deal with that? Was that like a fine thing for you to do? Were you able to do that? Because obviously some people like it's quite daunting.
Yeah,
like
I think
juggling it all.
It definitely helped. I was like, I was pretty good in school. Like I found stuff a lot of time pretty easy, or I was always fine studying. Like I just used to get shouted at, study too much, or whatever my mum and dad used to say. Because
which isn't a bad thing, because it's got you to where you are today.
Yeah, but they still won't. But I think that the balance, like learning to that young age, it helps, and being organised, I think, as well. But it kind of helps you in everything, like not just it helps you in karate as well, like being organised for your own trips and like that responsibility and stuff. That was probably like the first thing I had to sort of dealt with that most like kids my age wasn't.
Do you almost feel like you had to like grow up quicker almost, because you're going to these competitions yourself as well, like going away with like the national team yourself, like almost like having to like live like with like yourself like the full time? Did you almost feel like you grew up quicker, like you had like more of a sense of, as you say, you're independent, like.
I was like quite an independent kid, but that came from, I was in a private nursery from like 6 months old till I was 5, so, and I was like sometimes always like the last kid getting picked up, so like I was just like that as a kid, like I wanted to do everything on my own, like no help. I think I just had that since I was a kid, so like, and I was always made aware, like the first time when I started going abroad and stuff, the first 2 times where my dad was with me, and then after it was by myself. And I was just always told, like, you know, like, if you're stupid and you mess up for yourself, you just not go again. Like, no, just it was just simple, like, you know, like you're responsible for your money or your passport. Like, they were like, so don't wreck it for yourself. And I also never wanted to do that. So
definitely.
it was quite, I think it was quite easy for me. Like, it wasn't, and obviously, I think I was still a kid, you know, like 14, like still have moments where you're young, but I don't think I grew up too quickly.
Right, yeah.
So it was, I probably had an easier adaptation.
Yeah,
just
that's good.
having that independence.
Yeah.
And it's always fun going away from your parents for a week.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. I feel like as a kid, that was like the first good thing about it, and then as you grow older, like you start to make friends more abroad as well.
Yeah.
And during that, it's like an aspect of like within karate that you've enjoyed as well, like being able to travel to all these countries and like make new friends, like no matter where you go.
Yeah, it's always interesting. Like you talk away to you for a bit, and you hear like what they've been doing, like what their life's like, and then also 2019 I took part in a student exchange.
Yeah, of
with
course.
the Hungarian club. So 3 of their athletes came over and lived with, one of them lived with me, one of them lived with 2 of our other teammates. And they came for 2 weeks and they trained here, and we took them sightseeing in Glasgow, Stirling, Edinburgh. A bit harder because at the time none of us could drive, which made it a little bit more difficult, and our parents had to help like a bit. But that was amazing. They got to see like how we live in Scotland and everything that was like what we do weekly, and how our like routines are different. And then in August I was the only one that could go, so I went there for 2 weeks.
Wow.
So it was and going on my own never like daunted me at all.
I was going to ask that. Yeah.
I was just the other 2 teammates that were involved in it, they couldn't go.
Right.
But I was just like, this could be like a once in a lifetime thing to take part in like a student exchange. I was like, I'm not giving it up. And I was 17 at the time. No, 18. Not long. Yeah, 18. I was like, what age are you? 18 at the time. So you can fly on your own, do whatever. So I just went, booked my own flights, told our coaches, oh, I'm going then, returning then. Went out and we spent a week in Budapest training at their dojos, and they like had quite a different routine, like training in the morning, and then having like a running session or a gym session, and it was like from 8 to 11, like almost every week, and then they have like the weekend off. And then the second week we went to a place called Sarvas, and it's like South Hungary, kind of near there, and it was like a training camp that we went to, and stayed in like a big house type thing with just like loads of different rooms. And Antonio Seba was there. He was taking it.
Wow.
So we got like one-to-one training with him. And then the last weekend I spent in Budapest, it was a training camp as well for the weekend, and there was like other countries there, like Slovenia and like the surrounding countries came to it as well. So I also got to see like a big part of Budapest as well, because a lot of the time when we go abroad, you just see the inside of stadiums. Definitely. And people say, oh, you've been here, there, and you're like, yeah, but I'm not actually seeing a lot of it.
Exactly.
So it was really cool. We got like loads of places, different foods, everything. Like tried like her mum made me like traditional Hungarian goulash. Right. Yeah. So it was like a beef like noodle type stew thing. So, and then just seeing like their routine, like it's different, and it's just like they didn't have a TV.
Wow.
So I was quite like, it's not something you'd find in Scotland.
Exactly.
But no, it was an amazing experience. I'd do it again in a heartbeat. Like it was unreal.
And that's something that like without karate you probably wouldn't have experienced.
No.
So like it's almost like saying yes to like every opportunity like that comes your way almost within the sport. It's like because obviously like you could have easily been like, oh, I don't want to go if I'm going over myself.
Yeah.
But like that didn't phase you at all.
No, I was going. I wanted to go from like straight off when we got like it was sort of beginning to get organised at the Euros at the beginning of that year when we first met them. So it was, which obviously as well, like that was the first time I'd met them and the coaches. So and the plan was they were coming over first, and obviously you didn't want them coming over and not like even knowing you, let alone family.
Yeah.
So like from like February to like June, like we were just like constantly talking, like Snapchatting. We see each other at comps, we saying hello and like getting to know each other.
Yeah.
So it was, and then planning the trips. So.
Amazing. Did you almost like experience like a difference between the setup in Hungary to like the setup in Scotland? Is that something like you took in?
Not so much maybe like the national setup.
Yeah.
Maybe just like the different way the clubs are run and like the different like so their club has like a personal trainer that like works with them. So they'll do like 2 hours in their own dojo. So they own the dojo, and then there was like a bit at the side with like straps and medicine balls and everything. So he would come in after like the 2 hour karate session, and it'd be like an hour of like gym work, like partner gym work sort of thing, which is quite different. Like we do all like our gym work on our own.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas they do it together, which was quite a difference. And when they came over here, and I would say like, oh, I'm going to the gym, they were like, the gym? Like they were like, oh, they didn't go, like they didn't want to go, or like it wasn't for them, like. And then obviously like the weather also there is much better than here.
Makes such a difference.
Yes,
definitely.
So they get to have like outdoor running sessions, and then they had like a minivan type thing, like like obviously the older students as well, like that drove.
Yeah.
So they would drive to the run track, and then they'd all just drive back to the dojo, and then just do 2 hours of karate, and it was like it was a much different kind of setup, like club wise, and it was interesting just to see what that was like. And then
definitely. Is there like been other like memorable experiences or like stuff like within the sport that like may not just be like results like that that you're like you'll remember, like what like after you stop or anything like that you look back on and it's like fun memories or like memorable experiences?
I think the Cyprus Europeans in 2016, that was a fun trip. Like not even like karate wise. I remember playing like that big game of hidey tag in the dark, like the last night, and everyone was like hiding in giant plant pots and stuff.
Yeah.
And then the whole like odds on game we had going on that trip in the airport and
oh yes, I forgot about that. Or like the one, and I feel like you were subject to a lot that trip, or the one like you got sent down to like bring back your towels or something like that you stole.
Oh no, that was I was because there was like the towel thing for the hotel.
You just kept nabbing them.
No, it was Dylan that like took some and ran to his room, and it was him. It was you and Adam that phoned me and was like, "You stole towels and that." And I was like, "Oh, I was like 14 at the time." I was like, "I'm sorry."
You felt like you had to go and return them to the reception and pay a fee or something.
Like, "What are you?" She's looking at me like I'm crazy, like about towels.
Oh, so I think that's like the most random stuff that you get up to, but it's like out with the sport, like it's almost like times like that you're going to remember as well. Like, like you go through like the sport and like people see the result at the end of it, but like they don't. Like this is what I'm trying to get like, across. Like within this, like they don't see like the journey or like the training that you need to do or like the experiences that you have like within the sport, and like it just makes you a better person. It's not until you look back on and see like how all those things affected you as well.
Like I'm like a sort of middle age in our club and like the Scotland one. Like our club was always kind of like all the boys that are your age, and then there was like me, and then there was ones like slightly younger. Like I was always like in the middle, and there was only like 1 or 2 people my age. So it was, and then it was the same for like the Scotland, like. The team that we had in Indonesia and Cyprus is very different to the team that we have now, obviously with ages and stuff, but I think it's good, like I had that experience of being like the youngest one, and like a lot of different older ones that like some of them I don't think you even do karate anymore.
No,
like,
it's like you reach that level almost, and you kind of need to. Obviously, in our country, you're not funded like, at all, so it's like it's one of those ones where you need to almost decide like, do you keep plugging away,
Yeah.
almost going up against countries like Turkey or
Like the government
Spain
behind them,
when
yeah.
they've got all that government money behind them, which
Yeah.
it can be difficult at times. Yeah.
And now I'm like in the team, but being like the oldest. Like next
Yeah.
year I'm 21, so
Wow.
like
So you've only got a couple of junior competitions
yeah
left. Yeah.
So I think it's definitely been like seeing the team, like how it's adapted, like
Yeah,
being in
absolutely.
it like the full time, because every time for each one I've been selected, just 'cause I've just never had anyone really to go against.
Yep. But again, that's not down to you not having anyone to go against. Like, they wouldn't take you if you weren't able to perform. So like you were always at that level of like you were always like successful and like you were able to perform when it mattered
So
as well.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's definitely times when like the older you get, there's like people drop away from
Yeah.
it. And then, like,
Which looking back for me, like my first time was in Malaysia for the Worlds in 2011, and there's only I would probably say 2-3 people that still do karate out of a 30-man squad, which that's only 10 years, but like it's crazy to think like that.
That's 10.
Yeah, I know. Ages ago.
Actually, it was. I don't think I'd done like an abroad comp.
Yeah. God. So like obviously you've got 1 year left of junior, and then you're like into seniors. Have you got like goals, like aspirations that you want in your like final years of junior, or like what you want to achieve as a senior as well?
Always I think like Euros or Worlds or like a K1 medal is like ultimate goal for everyone who are at a high level. I think just obviously because I've not had that much experience just because of the pandemic, even at under 21, like I've only done a handful of comps. Yeah. So I think even just for me, like medaling at those comps, just regular abroad competitions, and then winning like Scottishes and Britishes, because I think like people forget when they get titled, but saying you're the best in your country is like a big thing. Like and I think you forget that when you get to the stage of like Euros and Worlds. So it was like it's like winning it now, like it's a new character, and that still means the same as like what it was when you won at 10 years old, and that's like kind of like what we came from. That's where everyone like started. So I think every time, especially competing in like similar stadiums as well, you kind of get like you're like, well, this first time I medaled here was when I was like 11 or like
crazy
10, and it's kind of insane looking back. And then I think like the next big goal for me is definitely like the European like universities and the World University Championships. Yeah,
which obviously you've not experienced that, but they are basically a Europeans and Worlds. Like the people that go are people from like as yourself, like that are part of the national team. It's not like you go and it's like a uni team almost. Like it's it's a high level competition, which medaling at that and like doing well at that is like still an amazing achievement.
I qualified last year for that, but then obviously pandemic that got cancelled, and it's been cancelled again for this year. So the first like bite I'm gonna have at it is when I'm in third year of uni. So which is like, you know, kind of want to make the most of it because you're not going to be in university forever.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
You definitely want the chance to go and compete at one of them.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we'll wrap it up on some quick fire questions, but we'll put you on the spot, see how you're able to cope. So yeah, first of all, let's just say, what's your favourite technique? We'll start off with an easy one. Like favourite committee technique. Nice one. What's the favourite like your most favourite country you've travelled to?
Hungary.
Yeah. Is that just for like the experience that you had with it?
And the fact that I've seen like a lot of it. Yeah. As well.
Absolutely.
So.
Yeah. What's been like your most like memorable competition? Yeah, you've had so many that you've got results in, you've medalled in and all that, so you're spoilt for choice. I'll let you pick a couple if you're tied.
Like definitely the Youth Olympic one. Yeah. Like memories from that. I think Croatia, the World Cup where we did the camp before that. Mm-hmm. Like, because you just like that's the only time you feel like you're actually living like an athlete. It's just like wake up, train, like chill at the beach, train again. It's a
life that you actually want to live.
Yeah, so that's definitely a memorable one. And then also the different like World and European champions you get to be coached by there, and like then all the friendships that you've kind of made from that. Because a lot of them came from that when I was a cadet. So definitely that one. I think those two.
What's your favourite car?
Kata.
Kata. Yeah. I feel like I might know the answer to this. It's one that you've always done, but we'll see. There's so many to choose from that you do so well.
I'll go for. I think chatting now.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I thought you were gonna do. Yeah.
I remember learning how to do that jump. So it was. We were in the dojo, and Martin was throwing us in the air.
Oh my god!
To land because we were so light. Yeah. Learning how to do it,
and you just kind of had to just land, or you would have just.
Well, at first it was like practice, just landing on your feet.
Yeah.
And then it was like twisting into a lunge, and then it went like further and further to get the height. So it was, but it's funny because I remember thinking back to it, and my memory is like, oh, I used to jump so high with the jumps, and then you watch the video, and because you're so small, you're like off the ground by about this much.
But for yourself, you're like, oh my god, that was amazing.
So high, yeah.
Who was like someone you idolised growing up within karate? It can be within the sport, it can be without the sport.
I think at the very start of karate, it would have been Agiev because he was the one that was just mainly talked about.
Yeah.
And then most recent years, probably like I don't know, there's a bunch like.
I'll let you name a few. I know names isn't your strongest point.
So bad, I'm better with faces. I think the cost is definitely one. Yeah. Like for someone like I do kicks, like I use kicks and fights, so it's good seeing him when he like even just like you see new stuff as well. Like he's always wanted to try like new stuff, and you're like, oh, definitely. That's new. Or
does that almost like intrigue you almost that you want to try that as well, like at a competition, or you're
yeah, I think so. Probably in training first. I fall over a lot in training. So trying it in comp would be a big risk for me.
Yeah.
I think
they're two good choices that you've got.
That, and I think I quite like Gross. I got a chance to train with him at the camp. So it was, and he was really good. And then I've trained with Febra.
Right.
As well. I enjoyed training with him as well. Yeah. So it was
amazing. Just to finish off, like, what's like an inspirational message, like a piece of advice that you could have given yourself, like going up within the sport, or like the next generation, or like younger athletes coming up, like you almost like say like do this and like it'll help you like in the long run within the sport?
I think the best piece of advice I got was from my dad. Like when I was kind of like certain comps where I was overthinking, or I was maybe slightly more known in the category, and you kind of look ahead and you start like, I think people look at the draws and think, I've got this person, then the next round I'll have this person. It's just, I don't think it's the best way to do it. Like, he was telling me, like, if you've a category of like 32, like 16, you don't even need to worry about. Like,
absolutely.
They're in the other half, and to be honest, if you do need to worry about any of them, it's one person. That's the case you're in the final, so it doesn't matter who you're against. Like, bring it on type thing. But and then like your pool of 16, 8 of them are in the top half, like, and it just keeps going down to like, so a category of like 32, you might only if you go to all the way, you only need to fight like 4 or 5 girls, and those 4 like the other ones, you don't even know who they're going to be, so like the only person you need to focus on is like the very first one.
Exactly.
And I just kind of made it did something in mind, so now when I go to comps, it's just like you just focus on the first fight. And
that's something that like a lot of athletes like younger, they need to like focus on, instead of like focus on that end result. If they focus and live in like that one fight, that one moment, and like take it fight by fight, they're going to in a better chance, instead of like overthinking like the whole tournament and like putting pressure on themselves.
Like it's not a category of like 32 or 40 or whatever. It is like a category of 4 or 5 girls, and if you're going all the way, like you're clearly fighting good, so like just focus on that first person, because you don't know who like the next ones are going to be. Like,
amazing.
Do you know what I mean? Like, you can start naming like a whole bunch of good fighters that are in the other pool from you, but that's fine, just leave them, they can knock each other out.
Exactly.
You don't even need to think of that.
Then you focus on whatever one comes to in the end. Yeah, amazing. Well, that has been Real Talk today with Jordan Szafranek, joined by Amiee Pollard. Thank you for taking the time. No, thank you. And we will catch you in the next episode.